Hello, I'm Gabe, and this week for our Wellness Weekly, we're going to be talking about grief and loss. To begin, I wanted to start with a definition of what grief is. Grief is a normal and natural response to loss. It's an emotional suffering you feel when something or someone you love is taken away. Often the pain of the loss can feel overwhelming. You may experience all kinds of difficult and unexpected emotions, from shock or anger to disbelief, guilt, or profound sadness. The pain of grief can also disrupt your physical health. It can sometimes make it difficult to do basic things like sleep, eat, or even think straight. These are normal reactions to loss. And generally, the more significant the loss you're facing, the more intense your grief will be. And sometimes people think that grieving only happens when a loved one dies or something intense happens, but any loss can cause grief. A few examples here are a relationship breakup, loss of health, losing a job, loss of financial stability, the death of a pet, the loss of a dream, a loved one's serious illness, a loss of a friendship, loss of safety after something traumatic happens, or even something like selling the family home you grew up in. All of these can be causes of grief, and grief can be very broad in the way it affects you. There are typically 5 stages to grief, and this is very general. And if you don't feel any of these feelings, that's fine. If you feel all of them, that's fine. If you feel them in any different order, that's all to be expected in the messy process of grief sometimes. But in general, you'll go through the 5 stages of grief, which include denial, this can't be happening to me, anger, why is this happening, who is to blame. As we talked about last week, that feeling of anger may be really feeling more like sadness, but looking like anger. And then you'll move to bargaining, then moving to depression or low mood, and then finally to acceptance. And you can move to acceptance and then fall back into denial. This is by no means a rigid guideline. Like I said, it can just help to inform us as to what feelings may be coming and to help us better understand some of those unexpected emotions that come up in the process of grief. So, recognition of the stages and the way you may be feeling is important. And some more important tools when coping with grief is to know that there's no clear timetable for when your grief will get better or get worse. It's a day by day process, and it's important to acknowledge your pain, accept that grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions. Know that your process is unique to you. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. And it's important to seek out face to face, when possible and safe in this environment, face to face support from people who care about you. Those can be your family or your friends, and being able to rely on spirituality or whatever belief system that you're involved with can be helpful during this time to help you process your grief. I really appreciate your time today. And I know this topic is not a particularly fun one to talk about, but especially during this time, it's common to feel grief from losses, both big and small. Anything from not being able to see a friend or loved one in person to not being able to go to the movies can trigger senses of grief for you. So please do take care of yourself and be graceful and patient with yourself during this time. We here at Visions are here to help you. Please reach out to us if you'd like to talk or need any sort of support. And I'll leave you with a quote from one of my favorite people, Fred Rogers. And what he's saying here is, it takes strength to face our sadness and to grieve and to let our grief and our anger flow in tears when they need to. It takes strength to talk about our feelings and to reach out for help and comfort when we need it. So I'll leave you with that this week. Again, thank you for your time, and look forward to seeing you all soon.